Welcome to my farmhouse sewing studio. I'm Marnay, and today I have a few awesome Valentine projects for you all. And you don't want to miss this, so stay to the end so you can see everything that I've got going on. So as you can see behind me, I have a new and improved area, and this is my new design wall. And I have everything all ready and set up to show you for this little demonstration. So if you would like to grab a notebook and some paper and a pen, write everything down because there is no pattern required. All you need is a few scraps, maybe a charm pack, and a little bit of your time. So I'm going to start off with this cute little postcard that I have up here. And this is a sample that I had made because I was so excited when I threw this together that I just wanted to share it with everybody. So I'm going to walk you through on how to make this heart, and I also have another project lined up, which I will tell you about in a little bit, how to take this and incorporate it into some other projects. So for starters, we're going to start with this little postcard. It has a back side, and I have this cute little Valentine fabric with the little tickets on it. I did a half red and half pink heart. I did a little applique on here. I also sewed some little lines to kind of address it. And I want to give you some ideas for this because this is really cute for Valentine's Day. Although you can do this in any kind of, fabrics or holiday, whatever you like. Just think of it like a postcard. And I made a little stamp on here with some pinking shears, and I put a little heart in the middle that says "Kiss me." And I drawed some lines, and then I stitched them in black thread to make the lines to address it. And I addressed mine to my love, Fee Farmhouse, Lindley, New York, 2023 is the year. So I batted this, and I also binded it. So I'm going to kind of walk you through on how we did this, or how I did this. So what we're going to need, and let me get my notes. I call this the heart postcard. This would also, I wanted to let you know that this would be a great thing to make for your kid, to give to his teacher, to give to your daughter, your sister, your aunt, your grandma. I don't know, it's just really fun. You could turn this into a mug rug, a pot holder, a little hanger. I mean, whatever you think up. So anyway, what we're going to need is we're going to need two pieces to make the heart. And I have these two pieces here, and I have like a bright pink and a light pink. And I better leave this up here. What we're going to do, these are 3.5, oh my goodness, these are 3.5 by 6.5. So you need two pieces, 3.5 by 6.5. You're also going to need some background fabric, which is your background of your heart. And I have done this wonderful newspaper print. These are 3.5 inch square, and then you're going to need 4 squares that are 1.5 inch square. And I've got 4 pieces right here on my super design wall that my husband helped me build. So to start, we're going to take these 2 pieces, and we're going to take this piece of newspaper print, and we're going to put it face to face, or pretty sides together as I like to refer, and you are going to sew from corner to corner on each one. And I've got this one here, and I'm going to put this on the other half of my heart. And we're going to sew this from this corner to this corner, and the pink side from this corner to this corner. So they're going to be opposite. So when you sew that line down, you'll be able to fold the front part down, and you will have your background, which, if this is directional, you might want to fold it so that the words, like this. So my words look like they're newspaper print, if I make any sense. But we're going to sew this diagonally, so when you sew it down the middle, sew it down here, we're going to cut this back part off, and then you'll flip this top piece down. So you'll have something that looks like this, if I'm making any sense. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sew these, and I've already made a crease line for that one, and I'm just going to fold this one down, but this one's not right, so I need to fold this so that my newspaper print looks like it's right side up. So you might have to play with it to get it to, so this is going to make the bottom of our heart here with these 2 pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sew those on really quick. And I have my lovely little assistant here to help me. Such a distraction. All right, now I gotta make sure I got these the right way. Opposite ways. So diagonally, and I'm just checking to make sure when I fold this back that it looks like my newspaper prints on my fabric is right side up. So you might have to play with it a little bit.
While you're sewing, honey, you don't have to talk at all. I'm just going to speed that up.
Let me move my notes. Now we can see this is going to be the right side. This side is going to be the left. So now you can kind of see something is starting to take shape. So the next thing I want to do is I want to grab these 4 pieces of 1.5 inch squares. And we're going to place them, let's see, we want these, so the newspaper print is right side up, so they're going to be like this. Sometimes it takes a little playing to get things where you want it. If it's directional, you're going to want to kind of check it and make sure that it's the right direction. So we're going to put one of these in each corner, and I'm just trying to make sure that I look like I've got oh, wrong way. Why is that not working out for me? What am I doing wrong? Because it has to go this way, silly me. Good Lord, I have to look at the picture. Okay, so I got these in the corner, and my fabric being that it's directional, I want to look like, you know, the newspaper is not vertical. You want it kind of horizontal so you can kind of look like, even though you can't read it, you want to be able to kind of, you want it to look good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sew a diagonal line from corner to corner, top to bottom. And the diagonal lines will be going opposite ways. Same way with this one. It'll go from here to here, and this one will go from here to here. So I'm going to sew them together and show you how this works. See, the cat takes up my chair. So now we can see that when we flip those up, the right side up. Okay, let me just do this one really quick. All right, so now you can see when I flip these forward, we're getting the heart shape. So now what I want to do is I want to get my scissors and we're going to cut off these back parts. And the threads. That I will save for another project. And cut these threads off. Set them aside. And the same way with this one. Save that for something else. Okay, so now we can see we're getting a heart that's coming together. And I'm just gonna kind of press this. My oven, my iron is probably not too hot yet, but so now you can see I've got my corners sewed on, and I've cut off the back and we flipped them down. I've got them all nice and pressed. So now the next step is to sew your heart together. We don't want a broken heart, so I'm going to sew this together. And now that I got my chair back, cat wants to be ambitious in here. Notice I don't press seams open. I just sew it together. So everything looks really good. It lines up. I'm going to press this. And now you can see that we have a heart. So the next step would be, this is going to be the other side of our postcard, and I'm going to take a ruler and I'm going to draw 3 lines, and I'm probably going to have to swap out my thread in my machine. So if you give me a few minutes, I will get these lines drawn. I will rethread my machine in black, and I will stitch some lines, and then we will get on to the next step. We're being silly. Now back to business. Okay, so now I have the address side done, and we're going to get ready to stitch these together. We need a stamp, and I'm a little dyslexic, so I'm thinking I gotta be on, no, the heart needs to be on this side. Silly me. Okay, so now, when I talk about scrap fabrics, I have, as I said many a times, I have lots of scraps, and I had lots of little Valentine pieces. As you can see, I've cut some of these things out, and no, you do not want me, you don't want to watch me cut things out, although my sister did take a picture of me. I was cutting out some of these tiny little candy hearts, which I do have one. I thought I had one cut out and ready to put on here, but somehow I misplaced it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get one of these candy hearts here, and I've already put a lot of this stuff on heat and bond, and you can get that, oh, right here. You can get this at Walmart or any fabric store like Joann's. It's heat and bond, light sewable, and this is the kind that you want to iron on. So I iron it on to the backs of my little scraps. When I have little pieces that I want to cut out, I just iron it onto the back of the scraps, and then I cut it out with a pair of little tiny scissors. So this already has the heat and bond on it, as well as the heart here, which came out of this little love fabric. This was some scrap that I'd gotten at a sale, so I just cut out the heart so I could kind of, you know, put that in there. Same way with the stamp. I used pinking shears to cut out and make all the, you know, how stamps have that little, the little pinked edge on them. So you can make that look like a stamp with your pinking shears. So I've already trimmed it up, and I'm trying to get it straight. I'm gonna take off the heat and bond, which I can show you. This has already been adhered to my fabric, and I just kind of bend it a little bit, and it leaves like a shiny side so that you can when I iron this, it's going to stick down, and then I will stitch it down. Same way with the heart. This has some heat and bond already on it, and I've cut it out. And I'll just peel that paper off. My dog wants to come upstairs. And I will adhere that down as well. So I'm going to cut out one of these little hearts, and I'm going to put it right in the middle of my stamp. And we'll stitch these down, and then we'll sew this piece together. So I have my little appliques all ready to put on. They're heat and bonded. I kind of trimmed this one down. This came off a piece of fabric. It was by Riley Blake. There was a bunch of different little pictures, which I can show you some of these. I've just saved out because I was trying to figure out what I wanted to put on my Valentine. I had some Valentine fabric. This is Riley Blake fabric, and it was all these little sayings of different things that you could put on stuff. I didn't want to sew a piece of fabric together because they were all moved around. So what this is called, the name of this fabric is called Hello Sweetheart. So if you want to look for this on the internet, possibly Pinterest or Etsy, I think Etsy, or eBay, you probably could find this fabric. It's just really fun to cut out some of the little things, and I took this me and you equals heart, and of course I cut this heart out of a piece of scrap I had, and then I just made my own little stamp with this little heart in here. So I'm gonna heat and bond everything down, or it's got heat and bond on it, and it's just gonna adhere with my hot iron. And then I'm going to stitch everything in place so it will not come off. So we're going to get those stuck down and make sure it's where you want it. And so there's a layer of the stamp and then the little heart as well. I love to layer my fabrics because I think it gives a nice effect. So what I want to do is I want to stitch these two down in red so you don't see, you know, my stitches. And this I'll probably stitch down in a white or a light pink. And after I get these stitched down, I'm going to sew this piece to the heart piece, and I'm going to sew it up the seam, and then these two pieces will be joined, and then I'll show you how to do the back and what I have for the binding. I'm going to sew very close to the edge. Needle in the down position so you can turn. Point. I'm going to pivot and slowly stitch around the curves. All right, now we are ready. I sewed very close to the edge all the way around the heart in red thread, and I stitched around the stamp and the heart in light pink thread on this one. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold these together pretty to pretty, and I'm going to stitch 1/4 inch up the seam to join my postcard. And yes, I used red thread, and my seams aren't quite aligning here, but don't worry about it because it gets lost in the seam. And this is just for fun, and we're just let's see. Now I want to press this to the darker side.
You're not going to see the back of this because we are going to put batting and a backing on this. But I want that seam, it wants to go toward the light side, and I really want the seam to go toward the dark side. I don't press my seams open, I just press them to one side. Do as you prefer, this is your project. This is just for fun, and it turns out great. So use your creativity on this because it really is a lot of fun just to make like a little postcard. So now I have a backing piece, and this has all of the little Valentine tickets on it. I don't know what the maker of this fabric is because I think I got this a couple years ago from the Fabric Candy Shop online. It's an online store. So the back, let me see. The back is 6.5 inches tall by 11.5 inches wide. And I also have a piece of scrap batting, and the batting is cut 6 inches tall by 10.5. I want it just slightly smaller than my back, so I have a little bit of edging all the way around. So as you can see. So if this is directional, which I don't believe this is, we're just going to flip this over, and I'm going to put this on top. And now to quilt this together, I am going to stitch in the ditch all the way around the heart on here, and it will kind of quilt it to the back. If you would like, you can quilt around your stamp, along the edge of your stamp, to kind of like stitch in the ditch. It's whatever you want to do, but I just want to kind of adhere it to the back a little bit so it'll be a little bit kind of quilted. And you can see my back here is a little bit long, or my front is a little bit bigger than my back, so I might trim that up a little bit on this side and just kind of make sure everything lines up. But yeah, I want to quilt this down. My mind is overthinking. So once I get this quilted together, I have got some scrap here, and this is quite long. It's probably more than what I need. This is just some scrap off from our quilting that I had saved because I save everything. This normally I would use a 2.5. This one is a 2-inch. I'm going to try to use a skinnier binding on this. And what I like to do with my binding after this is quilted, I am going to stitch my binding to the back sides. A lot of people like to do theirs from the front and do it to the back. I like to machine stitch my binding on, and it works better for me if I roll it to the front and then sew it close down to the edge. Nobody's going to see the back side really, so I'm using this in a very small, so I'm probably going to stitch this down very close to the edge along here and then roll it over to the front, and I will show you how to do the join. So I'm going to go ahead and quilt this and get the binding sewed onto the back, and then we will go on to the next step. So what I've done is I just stitched in the ditch around the heart. So I went down to the point and then back up. I didn't stitch over this red heart. I just picked up and started stitching here up to here, and then I stitched up and then across the white here, and then I did inside the little neck here of the heart and then along the edge. And I also stitched around the stamp again, just so everything is kind of quilted to the back. And I do need to cut my threads, but now I'm just ready to put on the binding. So I'm just going to show you how I do binding. Everybody does binding differently, but this was what works best for me. And if you're not familiar with binding, a small project like this would be a great way to practice on. Remember, this is just for fun. So what I've got is my 2-inch wide binding. Normally I use 2.5, but I'm using something a little bit smaller on this project. So, and I want to leave a long tail, so I'm kind of putting this toward the end here, and I'm starting on the bottom of my postcard. So now that I've got my binding all the way to the end, I'm going to bring this around, and it's almost going to make like a half square triangle right here in the corner. You want to bring your binding up over itself, and I kind of press it with my fingers, and then I'm going to bring it back down over top of itself, and I'm going to kind of press it, and I'm just going to kind of put a couple clips in here just to kind of hold everything. I like to kind of have everything positioned before I get ready to sew. Everybody's different, but this is just how I do it, so I'm just going to kind of show you how we do this. And this is a very small project, but it's a great practice for binding. I used to suck at binding, and now I quilt my quilts, but I do my own binding on my quilts because it took me some practice to learn. but this is a great place to start. So I'm really just leaving these corners, you know, so you have a little bulk there. And I'm just kind of putting this around, and I'm just clipping it because all this excess that I don't need, I'm going to cut it off. So I'm gonna come down here. These little clips work great. I'm going to come back here and I'm going to kind of angle it up straight up so you have like a 90 degrees. So it's almost like a half square triangle. That's what I like to think of when I'm doing this, and bring it back over itself. And I like to finger press everything down so at least I know where everything is. And another one here, and then we've got one more corner to do, and you can see I have lots of this left. I knew it was plenty when I pulled it out of my scraps, but I'd rather use up something that, you know, I have than cutting up new fabric. So this is a great way to use up a little bit that you have. And I want to leave a long tail on this end, so you can see I have a long tail here, and I'm going to leave this a long tail because when we make the join, I want lots of extra fabric when I make my join. So I'm going to cut this off right about here. So I have two long tails, and I will show you how I stitch this down to the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start somewhere, let me see, probably on this end. So I'll probably start right here close to the edge, and I'm going to sew, but I'm going to stop before I get to this little corner. I'm going to stop about 1/4 of an inch from the edge. I don't want to sew past this. I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to cut my thread, and then I'm going to lay that down, and then I'm going to start from the top and sew it all the way down to another 1/4 of an inch from the edge. I'm going to stop, cut my thread, and then turn it, lay that corner down, and then start again and sew all the way down until I get to the next corner and leave 1/4 of an inch, stop, cut my thread, and sew around. And when I get back around to this other side, I'm going to stop right over here somewhere. So we're going to have these tails that are going to be open. Which this one's clipped under there, but we're gonna need two open tails like this, and then I'll show you how to make the mitered join.
So when you start sewing from over here, do you start 1/4 of an inch down, or do you start right at the corner?
I start right at the top.
Right at the top. Okay.
Yep. But you don't want to sew, you know, you only sew up 1/4 of an inch here, and then when I turn it, I'm gonna start from the top and sew it right down, and I'm gonna stop at 1/4 of an inch, cut my threads, and then I'm gonna lay that down, and I'm gonna start from the top and sew it down to 1/4 of an inch. And then lay that down and then sew right to about here. So we're going to have an opening right here, and I need it to be a good size opening so I can take these tails and we're going to make the join. But
let's sew it.
Let's sew it. Getting started here, and since this is such a small piece of fabric, it's not 2.5, I'm going to sew very close to the edge so I can get it to roll over to the front. I just did a back stitch there just so I can secure my threads. Back stitch. Okay, so I got the binding all stitched down. Now you can see we have these little corners that are kind of, you know, extra here, and we have these little tails. So before we turn this, we want to join our tails. Now, being that my fabric was 2 inches wide, I want to overlap this one to this one by 2 inches. So I'm going to have to trim this down just a little bit. So I'm just going to take a little bit off this one, hopefully not too much. And being that this is very important, because I was taught this by another lady that I sew with weekly, and she said when you're doing your join, always do it, and when you're facing your project, to do your join at the very top, not on the bottom, not on the sides, at the top. So what I want to do, first of all, we're going to overlap this piece to this piece by 2 inches, and I need a measurer. And so I can measure 2 inches, and I do it just slightly less than 2 inches. That way I know if my fabric stretches a little bit, I want it nice and tight. So I'm going to do it just like 1/8 of an inch short of that 2 inch mark. And I'm going to make a press line. So I'm folding that over so I can make a little press line, and that way I know where to cut. So there's my press line, and I'm going to cut that off. So now this just overlaps this. So now hopefully I have enough leeway here, and I might have to just bunch this up a little bit. I want this piece to kind of lay flat, and then I want to take this piece and open it up, and it's going to lay right across this piece. Whew, and I don't know, I might have to take that out just a little bit so I can have a little bit more room. And if you have to take out a couple stitches, that's fine, because you're going to restitch this back up anyway. I just want to make sure that I can open it up and get it across. So you have to manipulate your fabric a little bit to do this join. And this, I have to tell you, has taken me forever to learn this, because every time I would do it, I would get it twisted. But my friend, her name is Sally, showed me this way, and somehow it works every time, and I don't know why it does, but it does. So now I'm going to fold this piece back to 90 degrees, almost like a half square triangle, just where the fabrics meet. And I want to make a press line. This is how I know how to do it, so everybody's different. But this is what works for me. So now I've got that across, and now I have a little crease line where I just finger press that. So it goes from this corner to this corner, and that's where I want to sew. So I'm going to take this over to my machine, and I'm going to carefully sew along that press line that I just did right here. And I'm going to show it now. Then I'm going to sew it, and then I will show you the magic. And hopefully I have everything lined up, because I want that press line to be right in the corner. And let's see if I did it. I get excited every time. I did. So now you can see that I have a nice little join and everything. When I lay this out flat, I will be able to just stitch that up. But before I do that, this excess right here, where I just sewed, as my stitch line is right in the middle here, I want to cut that back part off. So I'm just going to take my scissors and hopefully be very careful. Sorry, I can't show you correctly just how I know how to do it. So I'm going to cut off that little bit of excess there. And now I'm not going to have all that bulky fabric in there, and you can press that seam open, or you can just kind of fold it up. This is just a small project. I'm just going to leave it the way it lays. And now I'm going to finish sewing this from here over to here, and then we're going to close up this little hole here. And then we're going to roll the binding over to the front, and I will show you how to lay that down. So I'm coming to this last corner to put this together, and I'm just going to put a clip there. And as you can see, nice and folded there, and you want your corner to come up and meet the edge of that fabric. Jim's going to help me put that in place, and I'm just going to clip these down. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sew this all the way around, very close to the edge, all the way around, and that will close up our little postcard. So when I get that postcard all stitched down, this is, I'm going to let you kind of see what this looks like. As you can see, I've sewed this down very close to the edge. So this is what's going to give you your finished effect of your postcard and, of course, your back. So, and in here, I have a fine point Sharpie pen, which this will is a permanent marker. And you can write on these lines to who you want your Valentine to go to. Like I suggested earlier, this would be a great teacher gift for your child. You could write your teacher's name on here, the school, you know, who it's from, the year, whatever, or, you know, your loved one in your family. This just makes a really nice special gift. So, on to the next projects. I'm going to stop this video here, and you're going to have to watch my next video to see what I've got coming up next for the next Valentine project. And you're not going to want to miss this, because you can see here I've got pieces of, you know, things that are already set up. So stay tuned to my channel, and if you like this video, please like, please subscribe, share with your friends, and meet me right back here on my channel for my next video, because like I said, Valentine's is only 13 days away, and I've got some really awesome projects that you can make. So stay with me, and I will chat at you later.